Day 1 of our selenite in water experiment. So we have 2 glasses of tap water, which we are going to place 2 pieces of selenite. The first piece is true selenite, a clear plate of true selenite. That is going in glass number 1. And then we have satin spar selenite. So this is a dome. It is polished on one side and it is raw on the other side, so we'll see if it does come apart in the water. So day 1, selenite experiment, here we go. We have now arrived on day 7, 1 week after we have placed these selenite pieces in their glasses of water to see what will happen. So I haven't been moving these pieces, so this is an experiment where we just place the stones in the water. So I can't really see too much that has changed, except for the true selenite plate does have a little tiny piece of the slab that fell off. I don't know if you can see it there, but there's a little tiny piece. And the dome, nothing seems to have really happened with the dome. I think the polish is still there. Nothing has flaked off, except now that I am moving it around, you can kind of see tiny little fragments of the selenite strands. Remember, satin spar selenite is a very fibrous stone, so when I am moving around and you look really, really closely, you can see the tiny little strands floating in the water. Let me zoom in and see if you can tell anything from the video or not. Okay, we're going to get a closer look at this satin spar sphere or dome. It is broken in half, so the inside part is raw. But if I move it around and you look really closely, you can see the strands of selenite are floating in the water. Very, very, very thin little fibers are in the water. So they are kind of disintegrating from the raw part of the stone. Now let's take a closer look at the true selenite plate that I have placed in this other glass of water. If we move this around, do we see anything floating in there? We do see tiny little minerals floating, but as I said, there's a larger piece that did break off of it, and that is right there on the bottom. I don't know if you can see that. So the 2 pieces of selenite, true selenite and satin spar, are mostly intact after 1 week of sitting in water undisturbed. But once I do move it around a little bit, they are slowly coming apart. So this is a very controlled experiment. There's only 2 very specific pieces in water, so we're not really comparing it to all the selenite out there, and we are not using running water. It's just still water, so nothing much will happen if we're not moving it around. And of course, you can also keep in mind that each selenite piece will be different, so yours is going to have different results. We are just seeing what will happen for these particular pieces, and that may also be the case in yours. So we will see again in 1 week. Unless something else drastic happens, I will come back to you. And we are back for week 2 of the still water selenite in water test. So I haven't moved these selenite pieces for 2 weeks now. We are just going to give them a little poke and see what happens. I do see little floating pieces everywhere. So this is the real selenite, and it has some kind of weird ghost-like jelly thing sticking to it now. I don't know what that is. Maybe some kind of bacteria? I don't know. And the other one is still letting off those tiny selenite satin spar fibers when I do move it around. So they are slowly disintegrating. So here we go into the true selenite piece, and if you can see, there's like a little jelly looking thing stuck to it right there. I don't know if that's part of the selenite or what happened there. And if I do move it around, you can kind of see some particles moving around in the water. That is the plates disintegrating. There's already a larger piece here that came off last week. Here is the Satin Spar Selenite Dome, raw on one side, polished on the other. And if I move it around, I can see little tiny strands in the water. I don't know if you can see it from there. Let's see it on this view. If you can see that, there are little tiny strands just swirling around in the water. Here we are, week 3 of the selenite in water experiment. As you will see, the water has quite evaporated. The true selenite is kind of sticking out of the water now. There is rings of white minerals around the glasses, which I assume has come out from the selenite crystals. The water does have all the little pieces of selenite floating about as well. And as mentioned before, I have not moved this for the last week since the last video. So let's take a little look here. The Satin Spar. Still lots of different threads coming out. True selenite is also has little floaties in it, little floating bits of the plates there. And let's take a look closer inside. So week 3. It's not totally dissolved, but it is still coming apart. I may need to add some water if we are going to continue this experiment. But there you have it. It's been exactly 1 month since we've had our selenite stones sitting quietly in water. I did top them off a little bit because they were peeking up above the water. But now we will check what has happened after 1 month's time. As you can see, both glasses have a large crusting of the selenite minerals. The true selenite has a thicker crust of the white minerals evaporated onto the glass, and the Satin Spar selenite does have it as well, but is not as thick. I'm going to give this true selenite a little twirl. And we do see the bigger flakes of selenite that have come off of the big piece. They are swimming around. The true selenite, I'm assuming I can see all the little fibers. Yes, all the little fibers are there swimming around with the selenite piece. So that is at the 1 month mark. I might come back a little later this time, maybe 2 months, to see what else has happened. We have now made it to the 2 month mark of our true selenite and our Satin Spar selenite soaking in water. The water did evaporate a few times, so I added a little bit of water so that the selenites would still be soaked in it. But as you can see, the glass did evaporate, and some of the white selenite minerals are on the glass itself now where it evaporated. Let's give it a little twirl. So here's our true selenite. You can see all the little bits and pieces floating in the water now. And the Satin Spar selenite still has all those needles that are floating around in the water. So we are going to end our experiment here. You get the idea. If you do place your selenite in water, it is not going to hold its form together for very long. I don't know exactly when the whole thing would disintegrate, but this is after 2 months. Thank you for watching and joining us on this experiment. If you need some selenite for your collection that will not be placed in water, we have a whole selection of true selenite and Satin Spar selenite at Satin Crystals. And while you're there, join the VIP club, as we'll send out crystal healing information just like this every single week. We also have an text SMS program, so you can add your phone number and we will text you out information every week. As always, thank you for your positive energy here at Satin Crystals. Thank you for subscribing and liking our videos so we can continue bringing you crystal experiments and all kinds of crystal healing videos for you in the future.